Okay, so today we are going to be going over scatter plots and predictions. So for our first example, we have a scatter plot below, and it shows the cost per pound of potatoes from years 2000 to 2007. So we are going to use a trend line to determine the best estimate for potatoes in 2016. So we use scatter plots to make predictions, and what we're going to do, we're going to create a trend line. A trend line is also known as a line of best fit. So we are estimating, so we are going to create a line of best fit that will help us make predictions, which is also called a trend line. So as you can see, I have two blue lines and then a red line. Our trend line is going to be this red line. To help us make the line of best fit, we're going to use these blue lines just like as bumpers. So, you know, when you go bowling, you want to keep the ball on the lane, you have bumpers. So, these blue lines are like bumpers for us to make the best trend line. So, we're going to put our bumpers or our blue lines on the outside of our data points. Okay. So we take our trend line, we put them on the outside of our data points, we adjust the line, okay? And so then our trend line is going to go in the middle. So our trend line goes in the middle of these two lines. So when you move your line, you want to make it straight, okay? So you can write an equation to your trend line as well, but we want that trend line straight in the middle. So now that I'll make my prediction, you have your trend line going in the direction. So when we get to 2016, because it says years since 16, we go to our point here, which would be around like 80. So we are going to put 80 as our prediction. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Right? So it costs about 80 cents per pound. Okay. Now let's take a look at example 2. It says this scatter plot below shows the height of a young lady at various ages. Okay. So we're going to use a trend line to best predict the height of a young lady that is 14 years old. Well, first we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our bumpers and adjust them. Okay, we want to make sure it's on the outside of those data points. Kind of get your line. Want it as straight as possible. So we're going to adjust this a little bit. All right, so now our trend line is going to go on the middle. And it doesn't have to hit every single point, but you want your trend line to touch about most of the points that you have here, okay? So you want your trend line to be able to touch most of your points. So now when we look at the height of a 14-year-old, we go to our X value and we see where our trend line meets and roughly about 160 centimeters. So roughly about 160 centimeters is where she would be at the age of 14. So notice your trend line touches most points that are there and you have your bumpers. Okay. So now you're going to complete the rest of your assignment. Make sure you draw your bumpers in blue and your trend line in red.